This is your last call for My Wife the Dietitian. The show is just about to start.
Come on, let's go. Hurry up.
I'm trying. I can't get my shoe on.
Welcome to My Wife the Dietitian, a fun weekly podcast about nutrition and healthy lifestyle. I'm Rob, and together with my wife Sandra, we invite you to join us on this informative and entertaining journey through the complex world of healthy eating.
Join us each week as we strive to help you with transforming your overall health and relationship with food through up-to-date, evidence-based nutrition information.
Tofu isn't something you hear most people say. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Ew, tofu. Do I really have to eat that? Today we answer that question. Do I have to eat tofu? It's not just the taste and the texture. There's a lot of controversy over whether tofu and soy products in general are actually healthy for us. Today we discuss all things tofu and give you some insights to help you decide if you want to start including tofu in your diet. Stay with us. Enjoying the show? You can help others find it and enjoy it too by giving us a 5-star rating or review. If you feel like reaching out to us with a question or comment, you can send us an email at mywifetherd@gmail.com. And don't forget to visit our website at mywifethedietitian.com, as well as our social media pages. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Enjoy the show. Welcome to My Wife the Dietitian. Hello, Sandra.
Hi, Rob.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good.
I say that every week. I should come up with a new line.
That's okay.
I'm good.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm good, yo.
So today we're going to take a question from a listener about tofu.
Oh, fun. Tofu.
She said her husband doesn't like it. Do we need to eat tofu for health?
It sounds like a question from our kids.
Yeah, totally.
Do we really need to eat tofu?
That's a good
Sounds like a question from everybody's kids.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And everybody's husband.
Yeah, well,
Husbands.
It's kind of like cottage cheese or...
It's one of those foods. It's kind of like
either
icky to some people.
Exactly. Like you either eat it or you hate it. Like with a passion.
Yeah, probably like some of the canned seafood, like mussels and oysters and stuff, has
sardines.
They fall into that category as well.
Yeah, where people just like, oh God, no, I can't eat tofu. People, like clients of mine, say that all the time. No, I don't eat tofu.
It's funny.
I know. Yeah, it's got a long history though. Like it's been around for 2,000 years.
Really?
Yeah.
2,000 years.
Yeah, it's
Holy.
like soybean cakes.
Interesting.
Because that's what it's made out of, right?
Mm-hmm. And I wonder if it's always had if people have always turned their nose up at it, or if that's just something new. It's like a new generation thing.
Well, I think there's a lot of reasons that people have objections to it.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
Yeah. Like just from talking to people, like the cultural, like it's unfamiliar. Like if you didn't eat it when you were growing up, that might be... something that it's not familiar. And
yeah,
I think another thing is the texture.
Well, it's hard to categorize it. Like it's not meat. It's not like a vegetable. It doesn't have any color. It's not like what is it?
Right.
That's,
right.
I guess why people are like, yeah, like what is that?
I know.
It's kind of like,
I guess closest to cheese, really.
I guess so, but not nearly as tasty. Well, there is no taste. That's, I get why people don't like it, but there's so many ways to make it good that,
Yeah.
it's funny.
No, exactly. And I think also there has been like an association with dietary restrictions or certain dietary patterns, like, oh, only vegetarians eat tofu, or I have to be on a low fat diet. I can't eat any more foods with cholesterol, so I have to eat tofu. Those kind of sentiments. There's
that whole thing, vegetarians and vegans, so it can't be good. If it's something they have to eat, then it's probably not something I want to eat, unless I'm vegan, right? It's because they just think it's like fake food.
Right. And you know who really popularized it in North America is the hippies.
The hippies.
Well, like in the 60s.
Okay.
It really came like a resurgence into popular culture.
Hey, man, do you want some tofu? It's really good stuff, man. Yeah, I can see that.
Like stir-fried tofu.
Yeah, tofu eating hippie. I think that's a bumper sticker, isn't it? I've heard that term before. Tofu and granola.
Tofu and tree huggers.
Those hippies.
That's funny.
Yeah, I must be a hippie.
You do? You don't mind tofu?
No, I don't.
I mean, you don't eat it every day.
Well, I could.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because I think that's in one of our original episodes about plant-based milks, you said something about soy milk and man boobs.
Well, yeah, man boobs. Well, that's one of the concerns with tofu, I think, is that people thought that, what is there, estrogen in it, or it like promotes estrogen growth in your body, or however it works, and that was like one of the comics, kind of like, if you eat too much tofu, you're going to grow man boobs.
Right. Do you know where that all came from? There was one case study, a man who was in his 60s who drank 12 cups of soy milk a day, and he started to get
man boobs. Sandra can't say that.
I didn't say that,
It's
but
not in her vocabulary.
No. So that was a little extreme. Like, who's going to drink that much and have that much soy in their diet every day?
And it's not necessarily even related. It's not like, okay, everyone who drinks 12 cups of soy is going to grow man boobs. That just happened to be
in that case.
Yeah, in that case. And it is a combination of things happening with possibly the soy and what else is in his body, I guess, that created that scenario. But
yeah, and then there was headlines like in Men's Health magazine about, is soy the most dangerous food for men, and something like that.
Oh, man.
And it was based on that. And I think it's all been retracted since then. But it's interesting just how certain things can get demonized, like certain foods and nutrients and stuff.
Fear the tofu.
Fear the tofu.
Fear the unknown.
That's right. Yeah.
I had tofu in my lunch today about half an hour ago in my salad.
Oh, yeah. You eat that smoked tofu.
Oh, that stuff's delicious. I almost promoted it to a friend I saw in the store the other day who listens to our podcast, by the way. So maybe she'll hear this. So buy the smoked tofu.
Yeah, it is pretty good.
Really good.
It is like cheese, actually. It's like a Gouda almost. It's so Gouda.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's tasty.
Yeah.
It's firm like cheese, and it's like smoked Gouda or smoked whatever smoked cheese you eat. It's tasty.
Mm-hmm.
And the funny thing, I've never realized this before, but if you look at something that's smoked, you look at the ingredient list, it says smoke.
Right.
Which shouldn't surprise me because it's smoked. So, I mean, obviously they have to get that flavor from somewhere, but it's funny that it's actually written on the ingredient list.
Yeah.
Smoke.
It makes sense.
It does. Yeah. Anyway.
Is that what Cajun's made out of? No, I'm just joking. I know, but it has that smoky flavor.
Yeah. Cajun's a whole other thing. That's a whole, different flavor altogether.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, with the feminizing effects, it hasn't been shown to stimulate breast tissue or anything. Tofu is made from soy, and soy has phytoestrogens, which have they're a plant estrogen. So it's similar to estrogen, but in the body, it doesn't act the same way.
Oh, I see.
Because it's a plant estrogen.
Okay.
So they can actually be helpful and safe, and might be actually good for men with prostate cancer, for instance. So men with prostate cancer, it would be an okay protein alternative because soy and tofu, like tofu comes from soy, and soy is a complete protein. So it's an alternative to red meat. There's no saturated fat or cholesterol because it comes from plant.
Right.
And the phytoestrogens might be helpful. And we're not talking about extremes here. We're not talking about 12 cups of soy milk or only eating tofu and no other protein.
Mm-hmm. Like when you buy tofu, it comes in like a brick, and we'll use a whole brick in a meal that feeds 4 people, and we'll have leftovers. So you're getting like a quarter of that, which isn't really a lot.
No, exactly. And that's the thing. The recommendations are not more than 2 servings a day, and not to use isoflavones, meaning like the supplements in a like capsule or powder. It's better to eat the soy from tofu or from whole foods.
Oh, I see.
Like edamame beans.
Like don't eat soy supplements?
Soy isoflavone supplements.
Which is from soy?
Yeah. It's basically extracted the phytoestrogens out of the soy and put into a pill or powder.
To give you the benefits of what you would get from eating tofu or other soy products.
Yeah, but getting that much, you get into...
Too concentrated?
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
So back to the question, do we need to eat tofu?
Mm-hmm.
So good question. It depends on your family. It depends on the other people in, like other tastes and other people in the family and what they like, what's going on for people. Health-wise, it's safe and okay to have tofu. And as Rob was saying, there's like a lot of different, or as you were saying, there's a lot of different different ways to use it. I know we did a episode with Scott Fickerson, Vegan for Runners, and talked all about different ways to get protein and all of your nutrients through eating a vegan diet.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not even like vegetarian, might include eggs and milk products, but vegan is no animal products at all. So a lot of vegans or people that eat that way do include tofu as one of their sources of protein, because it is really high in protein.
It is. And maybe we should talk about why you would want to, like, you would be replacing red meat, is my guess. I mean, that's why someone would want to start including tofu instead of red meat for the health benefits, right? Because I'm guessing back in the 60s when people were like, you talked about the hippies and all that, and it was a thing. I don't think red meat had the health risks associated with it that it does now. Like, everybody ate red meat and it was fine. It was that's what we all ate. And so then it's like, well, why would I eat tofu? There's no need to eat tofu if I'm not vegetarian. And so, but now there are reasons to eat it, even if you aren't vegetarian, you know what I mean? Just for the health, avoiding the health risks that are associated with the red meat, eating a lot of red meat, I guess.
And that can be controversial too, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't want to assume anything here, and I'm not saying that nobody should eat red meat. That's not what we're saying, because I think there's balance in your food choices and your dietary habits. And I'm more about like omnivore, like just include a wide variety of lots of different foods and diversity. I think with the whole hippie thing, I think it was also ethical reasons with
I'm sure there was.
So that yeah.
So then back to the question, why would someone want to eat tofu? Just to include something new and different into their diet?
Yeah, and we know that like it actually could be protective. Like there's some good benefits with soy, like for heart health, bone health, possibly helpful for skin health. That's another emerging area of research.
Right, okay.
Is skin health.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Yeah, that's interesting, because it's not just like rubbing tofu on your skin or anything. I'm not talking about that. But actually eating soy foods or tofu can actually be helpful for the elasticity of your skin, and it helps with collagen production. We did a whole episode on collagen.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we mentioned it's a complete protein. So it's got all the essential amino acids. So it's on par with like egg whites or casein protein from milk protein.
Right.
But because it's a plant-based protein, that's the other reason that, we hear so much in the media lately about plant-based eating and plant-based food. And so tofu is like one of the OGs of plant-based eating.
Right. So there's things in tofu that you're not going to get anywhere else?
remember we've talked about protein before and how animal protein is a complete protein. It's got all of the essential amino acids.
Right.
Whereas a lot of the plant proteins, remember you have to eat like rice and beans together.
Right,
so that's what the thought was in the past, to get all of your complement of essential amino acids, because you don't get all of your essential amino acids from just rice or just beans.
Okay, gotcha.
So
Yeah,
they have the complementary,
Right.
but soy has all of them.
okay.
So that was why I said that it's like one of the OGs, like one of the originals
Interesting.
in terms of protein,
So what?
plant-based protein.
Yeah, let's talk about how you eat it, so that people, because now we're convinced that we need to include it once in a while. How can we include it?
Well, that's a good question. And I don't know, are we saying that you have to eat it? Because some
No.
people don't feel comfortable about it. Because of the reasons I suggested before, they don't like the texture. It's like they just don't like how the soft and silky, or I don't know, they might cook it wrong. It might be rubbery or mushy. It's definitely, people say it's so bland, there's no taste. And just, if you weren't brought up on tofu, like if you didn't include it as a staple in your cooking, or your mom or grandma didn't use it, then maybe you're not familiar and you don't really like it.
Yeah, fair enough. I don't think we said you have to eat it. I think we were just suggesting that it's good to include a variety of things, and this could be one, and there's benefits to it.
Yeah, and I didn't mention, which is a common and emerging problem, is allergies. So there are people with soy allergies. And the thing is, soy is kind of like in so many foods. Like there's so many almost junky foods that are made from soy, like soy chips and soy, different. So it's in everything. And we did a whole episode on emulsifiers. And soy lecithin is an emulsifier, and that is used by food companies in a lot of ultra-processed foods. So they do add soy to a lot of food to boost the protein level, and as an emulsifier and an additive. So it's hard for someone who has an allergy to soy, because they would have to read every package and look at all the ingredients of everything they're eating, because it is, as I just mentioned, it's like ubiquitous. It's like in so many foods that are processed.
Yeah, you see that. And you see may contain soy, just like may contain
That's
peanuts,
right.
right? Yeah,
That's right.
in a lot of things. So
Yeah. We'll do a whole episode on like allergies, like the 8 most common allergies. Soy is one of them. And now other ones that are starting to emerge are like sesame seeds. And partly it's because they're using these in processed foods. Like the food companies are using different, like soy is a good example. They use that in foods, so then it's widespread in the diet. And if you're eating a lot of packaged foods and ultra processed foods, then you're getting little bits of that soy, and then that will remember we did with the emulsifiers, we talked about how a lot of the emulsifiers like the guar gum and xanthan gum can actually increase your risk of IBS and like gut issues.
Right.
Well, this is what happens if our body thinks it's like a foreign invader, and maybe that could be happening with the addition of like soy lecithin or different soy derivatives, because if they're growing lots of soy and then they're using it in food products to add protein or for whatever reason, it's now widespread in the diet, but our body might not recognize it as food per se.
Right.
But tofu is one of the originals, as I mentioned, in terms of a way to get soy protein that is in a kind of minimally processed whole way.
Oh, I see.
So it's a little bit different than the tofu turkey, or like the really processed types of
soy products,
like the burgers. And we did a whole episode on
plant-based foods or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, the meats.
Yeah,
plant-based meats. So this is kind of like, if people want to listen to that, we did a deep dive on that.
Right.
What
so soy isn't all the same.
No. Oh gosh, there's so much. There's so many different ways to eat soy, right? With the edamame, and then you could have fermented soy. So that would be like miso or tempeh.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So that's in it. It usually is a bit easier for your body to accept if it's fermented, because soy can cause some GI upset too for some people.
Right. Yeah. So why don't we talk about what different kinds of tofu there are? Some people might think that tofu is just the one thing they've seen and they're all the same, and they, it makes them not want to even try anything. But there's so many different versions of tofu, and some of them I really like, and some, are just kind of like, it's like eating a wet sponge. So there's the dessert tofu, which is, it's like yogurt. It's like flavored yogurt. It's a little bit more, it seems more water-based, like thin, but it's flavorful. It's nice. You can add that to smoothies. Yeah,
that's how I use it. Yeah. I like just adding, if we have that, we'll put it in smoothies. I'd prefer yogurt over dessert tofu to eat with a spoon.
Yeah, it's not creamy.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, the texture's a little bit different than yogurt for sure.
But it's okay. I don't mind it, like straight up. But yeah, I would prefer yogurt as well, but it's okay. And then there's different firmness. Like you get the brick of tofu, you can get, depending on how you want to use it, you can get it extra firm or medium or soft, I think. And if you're making, like if you're going to cube it to add to a stir fry, I usually get the firm or the extra firm because I like small chunks of it, like small cubes of it.
Yeah, so like the recipe I have, the Thai green curry is with firm tofu that you crumble. The egg, like the vegan tofu scramble, is extra firm. And actually, I think there's a recipe on the blog from when Scott Fickerson was on our podcast.
He did that recipe,
Yeah. And so I think he actually did a vegan tofu scramble on there's a recipe on there, and it's really good with turmeric and paprika and Dijon mustard and garlic powder, onion powder.
That's the thing with tofu, is it's all about flavoring it, because it is, I know I said it's like a wet sponge, but it really is like a sponge in that it absorbs whatever you put on it. So your sauces, like your soy sauce or your different kind of flavoring sauces, your spices, all of that stuff gets absorbed, and then it's just this like little cube of flavor, which is awesome. But just to eat it raw, it's like, no.
No, you really have to know how to cook it. I think that's the key with tofu.
Yeah, it's like eating a piece of stale toast. It's no good, but once you have something yummy on it, then it's good, right?
Yeah. It's definitely like if you marinate it, or if you're, you could do baked or air fried tofu.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Yeah, by coating it, right?
No, I just threw it in. I cut it and threw it in, and then it just makes it crispy almost. Dries it out a bit. Yeah, so it's not as soft feeling. And then I guess the soft ones, you'd use them in like sauces and soups maybe, or anywhere where you don't want a chunk of it.
Yeah.
And then there's the smoked tofu, which is my favorite because you can eat it cold. I'll slice it and put it on crackers. I'll cut it up, put it in my salad. I'll just eat a piece of it like eating a piece of cheese, because it's really tasty just on its own. Like it's flavored. Like it comes flavored. And yeah, I love that stuff.
Well, it is so easy too. It's like a really convenient food, right? Because you'd basically just open it up and you don't have to cook it or do anything.
Well, that's the other thing with all tofu is it doesn't require the same degree of cooking as, say, a piece of meat.
Yeah.
There's no preparation really other than just adding it to what you're already cooking up.
The risk of food poisoning or like salmonella or whatever is pretty low.
Oh yeah, totally low. Yeah, so that's a definite perk. It's really good for like a quick meal, and it's like, okay, what's our protein going to be? Oh, okay, I'll just cut up some tofu and throw it in there. That'll be our, ready in 5 minutes kind of meal. So that's a definite perk. So having it on hand, like we eat everything here. We eat meat and fish and chicken and beef, and we eat it all. But some nights when we want a quick meal, the tofu is the one we use because it has those benefits of being ready quick.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, to the listener who asked, do we need to eat tofu? I would say that it's totally up to you and your family and your taste and your preferences. It's something you can experiment with in terms of finding recipes and trying it out. We used to go to like Chinese restaurants and there's tofu in certain Chinese dishes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
totally.
A lot of times people are okay with that, but they just don't know how to cook it at home. And so a lot of times when you even suggest it, it's like a hard stop.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then other people, I mean, that are people that I talk to that are vegan or vegetarian, incorporate it quite regularly. And, you know, with the evidence, like there's so much information out there online, a pro and con for tofu and for soy. But in the Asian population, if people have been eating soy
for centuries, I would think, right?
Yeah. And they're eating it since they were born and it's a regular, consistent part of their diet, and it is showing that it can reduce risk of breast cancer.
Oh, so, really? Yeah.
In Western population, it's more of a neutral or slightly protective if someone's having it early in life and they have it consistently. So there's a lot of mixed information, basically. So if you don't feel comfortable including it, then that's your prerogative. You don't have to. There's so many other foods to eat. But tofu is something that could be a healthy addition to your weekly diet.
Yeah. And like we said, there's lots of different ways to include it. So check out your local offerings at your supermarket and see what they have. And like I said, the smoked tofu is a pretty easy way to start because it isn't the icky kind of tofu, you know, so it's a good beginner tofu. Yeah, just give it a try, see what you think. And like Sandra said, you don't have to have it, but it's not going to hurt you to have it. And there's some definite benefits to including it. Plus, just having that extra variety is always good as well. So
yeah, it's always about balance and moderation, I think. So not going overboard on any one thing and just having a variety and diversity.
Mm-hmm. And we'll include that episode we mentioned there where we talked about all the different plant food meats, the plant meats, plant-based meats or whatever it was called. We'll dig that up and include it in the show notes so you can check that out. You can also check out the website. There's all sorts of good information on the website, blog articles. We have a weekly newsletter you can subscribe to with some fun recipes, different tips, that sort of thing. You can also find us on the internet on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. It's a good place to listen to the podcast as well. YouTube is a pretty easy way to dig it up and to share it with your friends too. YouTube's a good way to share, and we always appreciate when you share. We also appreciate when you rate and review. That's super helpful to us, and it helps other people find the show too. They'll read the reviews and make their decision based on what they read. So hearing some kind words about My Wife the Dietitian is definitely beneficial. So we would appreciate if you can do that. If you want to leave a question like our listener did today, you can reach us through our website. It's mywifethedietitian.com, and our email is mywifethed@gmail.com. So feel free to reach out, ask your questions, just say hi if you want. Let us know, give us some feedback through our email if that's a more comfortable way of communicating. We're totally fine with that. So we welcome anything that we get from our listeners. So don't be shy. Okie doke, that is it until Wednesday. We'll be back then with nutrition nuggets. So go out and experiment with your food. Have some fun. Try some new things and give that tofu a try. Thanks for joining us today on My Wife the Dietitian. If you like what you heard, don't be shy. Leave us a comment or review and be sure to share our podcast with your friends. If you'd like to hear more, hit that subscribe button. You can also follow us on our social media pages for updates, episode trailers, and other odds and ends. For more info and links on what we discussed on today's episode, check the show notes. We'll be back next week with another informative and fun-filled episode.